welcome back, listeners, to the BizBlend podcast where business meets real life. And today's episode is one that goes beyond boardrooms and bottom lines. I'm your host, Sana, and we are talking about entrepreneurship not just as a career path, but as a life skill. How we, as parents, mentors, educators, can equip the next generation to not just survive, but lead in a rapidly changing world. And listeners, my guest today didn't start with a plan to launch a movement. She started with a heartbreak, a cereal box, and a deep desire to reconnect with her son. That moment birthed Dreamers and Founders, which is a global initiative helping kids as young as 8 create real businesses, step into their confidence, and discover the power of building something of their own. So, whether you are a business leader or a parent or someone who simply cares about the future, this conversation is going to challenge, inspire, and awaken something bold in you. So, listeners, meet my guest, Kayshree. Kayshree, welcome to the show.
Hi, Sana, and thank you for that.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Kesha, I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. So, let's start with that moment at the kitchen table, the cereal box, your son, and that first spark of entrepreneurship. So, if you can share that with our listeners.
Sana, so that was a very, now looking back at it, it's a very funny story because at the time I was obviously going through a very tough time between, past pain as well as grief. And I kept feeding my son an iPad, just to distract him. And it came to a point where he was like, Mom, can I have another game? And I merely said to him, Son, you know what? I've tried many things and I've given into many things, but right now we actually don't have money for it. And, as a parent, that takes a lot out of you because you almost feel like you're a failure. And I, I, I didn't know what to do with myself. And it was almost like, um, what have I done? And previously to all of this, and before the divorce and before everything else, I had actually had successful businesses and I was in finance, or I was a financial advisor for 15 years. And when you lose everything, you get stuck and you get drawn into this negative pool. And when that day, when he asked me that, I said to myself, I need to snap out of it and I need to show up better for my son. I need to change my life, regardless of whatever has happened. What has happened. And now I've got to pick up those pieces because I don't like the person I see in the mirror. And I said to him, son, you know what? I'm going to actually show you how to earn your own app. And he said to me, Mom, like, what are you talking about? And it was then where I taught him, what or different ways to find a solution of what business would suit him. And he loved baking and he loved being in the kitchen. So for him, the first thing that we did was to bake a biscuit. And he loved the chocolate chip biscuits. So that was our first birth idea. And then I said to him, he was so excited. It was like, a different light in the child, a different smile, a different energy. And that for me was absolutely mind blowing. And I thought, if I could do this with my son, how many other parents and kids are going through the same thing? And what could I do to make an impact on other kids as well? And initially, I just did it as, just a fun project. And I said, okay, you know what? What can we do? How could we, do this better? And it was a start to a viral movement where everybody just jumped on ship and was like, I'm ready to try this and I'm ready to do it. And now we have kids literally. So from the program, um, they have literally started their businesses and are thriving. So, yes, It wasn't a thing that I planned to make millions out of. I actually thought my corporate career would have done that. But needless to say, I am in a much better space. I love impacting young kids and the younger generation. So it worked out as the universe should have, I think.
That's beautifully said, Keshri. Beautifully said. And it's so amazing to know that sometimes the best business ideas, they often come from love or desperation. I have had conversation where one of the so he's as a tech entrepreneur, and he has built a platform for record keeping for horses, and that idea just came because he got married into a family of horse lovers. His wife is a horse lover, so his wife was like asking him that I don't have any way to get the physical records of my horses from 10-15 years back. So would have been so good that there was some kind of online platform or digital platform to have all those records. So it's really amazing to know like how love can really give birth to such great ideas, which are solving pain points as well as they have great stories behind them. So thank you so much for sharing that, Keshri.
Ah, no, you're most welcome.
Oh, great. Okay. So, and you would say this isn't just about business. And I absolutely agree. It's about confidence, creativity, and connection. So how do you think, how does building a business it actually impact a child's emotional development? Because this is something, business can be really hard, it can be really tricky sometimes, it can be really let you down, but then you have to keep on going and going. So from a child's perspective and their emotional development perspective, how it actually impact them.
So I strongly believe that entrepreneurship or teaching them an entrepreneurial thinking and a skill is the new bilingual for kids. Because just like speaking two languages, it opens up new worlds and opportunities. And that's exactly what entrepreneurship does. It teaches
Mhm.
kids to see opportunities where others see obstacles. So it builds them. And just like teaching kids maths and reading, we should be teaching them how to pitch, how to build, and how to earn because it becomes a global language for innovation for kids who can speak and lead the next generation. And the other thing is when kids don't need to choose between doing good and doing well, we teach them things like generosity, integrity, grit, and empathy along, with the branding and budgeting and all the business side. So to teach a child how to be, brilliant at what they do and how to bounce back from everything that has happened to them, that in itself is creating a child that can be street smart. And no matter what life throws them, they know how to get up from it and just, pick up those pieces and just do better. So we have a thing called failing forward to success. And this is exactly that, if children aren't equipped with the right tools and the right structure and
Mhm.
with the knowledge and the know-how of how to get up, how to do, the next best thing. And it's okay if it doesn't work out. That's one of the things that we really push through. It's not just about making money. It's about how a child can take an idea or how a child can firstly spot a problem, turn that into an idea, and let that become a solution or create a solution, and that becomes a business. All we
Mhm.
are basically just doing is igniting that flame inside the child because I personally believe that every child is born with an entrepreneurial spirit. So once that is ignited in them, they just need the right tools and the right support structure, and
Mhm.
they're good to go. So I think, and why I say this is I when I was 10, I had my first dance school, and my mom pushed us to limits that we never thought, you could reach. And that was the role of a parent, to push you and to, get you into different things so that you could find your purpose in life. And that has made me so resilient in the fact that no matter what challenges I've gone through, I somehow managed to snap out of it, motivate myself, and, get to a higher level. And more so, when I say a higher level, it's not just for me, it's how you can impact somebody else's life. And that's what my mom's words was always, if you can just make a difference in one person's life, then you're good to go.
I absolutely agree. And especially from the perspective of failure or that fear of failure, I think it's tough to watch your child stumble, but as a parent, as you very very uh, brilliantly gave example about how your mother always pushed you. Uh, we have to uh, turn that into fuel rather than fear, because as an entrepreneur, in the business, failure, we encounter failure, but that exactly what helps us learn. It builds that muscle. So that's a very important point that you touched upon. um and Keshri, let's talk about the current scenario as well. So right now we are dominated by screens and then standardized testing. So how do you think parents should start building entrepreneurial thinking at home, especially if they're not entrepreneurs themselves? They don't have any idea about business. Uh, because this is the same case with myself as well. I'm coming from a non-business or non-entrepreneurial family. So what's your opinion on that?
Firstly, like I said, every child is born with an entrepreneurial spirit, and every child knows how to sell. If they are selling you something to say that, they need for you to see, in their view or in their light, they are selling you something. So
Mm.
it's just for you to channel that. And firstly, the most important thing is to build the child's confidence. If a child is confident enough, they can believe in themselves to do anything, because that's the key thing, is to believe, and for the child to believe, to say that the world is, you know limitless, and you can reach whatever star you want. If you want to be the next astronaut, for example, get the child to understand, to build, to, research about that career, about whatever they're feeling. Because trust me, as young as 4-year olds have literally, started their own businesses. And it's very important to channel that child's passion, because the moment you can feed into what you can see that child going into, and here again, you mentioned the screens, and that's a big thing for us. So we say to parents, if your child spends 4 hours, for example, on TikTok or YouTube or whatever it is, take 1 hour of that screen time and let's build them into a CEO. Because whilst they're on, YouTube or TikTok or whatever it is, channel it in a different way to ignite whatever problem solution or idea in terms of what, or in terms of the field that they're in, and channel it into, bringing up conversation to lead towards, them starting something. And as a parent that's not, used to entrepreneurial journeys or hasn't come from that, you have whether it's a corporate, whether it's whatever background you have. But as a parent, it is your job to instill confidence. It's your job to instill certain attributes and to bring it out into your child. And the best thing that I can tell you, and the best advice I could honestly give you, is firstly, promote confidence, motivate them. And even if they don't show signs of confidence, we always say, borrow my confidence as a parent until you have your own. And that for a child is really, really important because now they feel and they look at you as their mentor, their coach, and that it it does wonders for a child because now they're looking up to somebody that they can model, and just by you practicing and believe. And again, if parents believe in themselves and they show that to a child, they're unstoppable.
Yeah.
So it's very important. I would say start with confidence, start with looking at what your child, gravitates towards in terms of the different careers or in terms for if they're into gaming. Like we have a student that's part of the program. His mom complained that he's been gaming and gaming and gaming, and she cannot get him off. He turned his gaming into a business. So now he coaches other kids. That's his first line. His second line is, he's created different products to help and assist with the gaming. So we are not taking kids away from, what technology has given because
Mhm.
that's impossible to do. But rather, we're taking them and changing their mindset and allowing them to, see different opportunities because that's what it's about. Whether they go and work for themselves or whether they go into a corporate setting, you've got to equip kids with enough to say, when you leave them on their own, you know that they are safe and you know that they can handle themselves because today's kids, honestly, I don't think parents are okay to say, listen, I'm just leaving my child and I know my child, can live without me type of thing.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's good. And Kishri, I'll just bring in a different perspective to this. Uh, just from a different uh, perspective, isn't there a danger in pushing kids too early into performance and productivity? I mean, can this entrepreneurial focus at the age of 8 or 10, can it backfire and create pressure rather than empowerment?
So that is a very good question. And I'd like to answer it this way. We've had a few parents come and ask that question, and we've
Mhm.
shown them exactly that. In your school, they are teaching kids to be pushed. They're teaching kids, in terms of the homework, there is so much of pressure already. What we are trying to do is help them and better equip them to deal with the pressure and the stress because, as you know, with entrepreneurial journeys, it is one that's very stressful, 100%. And it's a journey that, you know, with all the ups and downs, it takes you through the levels where you are just, some days you have the best days, and other days you just feel like, you know what, I just want to give up. But when these kids are equipped with that grit and, that bounce back attitude, it helps them immensely. It helps them to cope. We have parents now with kids in matric and said, a year ago, my child would never have taken up so much on their plate. A year ago, my child, everything, Mommy, I don't have this. Mommy, can you solve this? Can you do this? Can you do that? Now, children are better equipped because we teach them the basics of how to find a problem, how to solve the problem, and what techniques to use to calm them as an individual. So to answer your question, no, I don't. I personally, through all the experience with the kids, it is not an additional pressure. Rather, it helps children deal with the current pressures of life, of school, and of the world.
Hmm. That absolutely makes sense. Absolutely makes sense. Um, and I think it puts so many things, especially if I can, compare or just recollect back the kind of pressure I had to deal with, especially in the school, and the kind of system that we had, that with respect to grades and marks and performance. Uh, it's better to help them equip and understand about the pressures that they have to deal with them, but in a constructive way, not in a destructive way. So I absolutely agree with you on that, Keshri. Okay. Mhm.
Sorry. And just to add to that point, it's all good and well to teach children how to deal with stress and pressure and all that life is going to come at them with. But it's another thing if you can show them different techniques in a fun way, because
Mhm.
then it breaks down to say, no matter what, whether it's a school problem, a life problem, a parent problem, anything, and again, we don't take away from school, because we educate them, and we put it out there that it's very important that they have the basics of education. However, we equip them with enough tools, and the best tools, because we've created a community whereby we bring in the best professionals that have tried and tested for years, and now come and see each child individually and create a solution for that specific child, because no two children are alike. I cannot
Yeah.
come here and say to you that, if you just go, shouting around that you're happy, you're going to be happy. And if I just, write my feelings down, and that's going to solve my problem. It cannot be a blanket statement, and that's where the techniques are very unique to each child.
Hmm. True. True. And you didn't share an example, but uh, would you like to share any specific, success story, or your favorite kid founded business stories? What surprised you the most about what's possible when kids are trusted to create?
So when kids firstly get their first sale, I always say it's like children, getting into a candy shop, getting that candy, and it's this sugar rush, and they've got all the excitement, but without that sugar rush. So they've got all the excitement, like, yay, I've got my candy, but without that crash when that sugar is gone out. And to answer your question, we've had several success stories, but one that really, really stands out is our little girl. She's 4.5, and her brother actually took the program. And as a family, the parents, did it together in a home. And she came out at 4.5. She, had this entrepreneurial spirit, and it was more like a competition between the kids in the household. And
Mm.
she came with a little bouncy ball, and she made it into like a puppet type of thing, and it went viral.
Oh,
Because
wow.
and here's the crazy thing is that, you don't need to think about crazy ideas of solving the world. Kids need a small idea, because there are billions of kids around. And we just say, you know, think, you don't need to think massively, because you can start small. And the whole idea of this is to ensure that we teach the kids the exact steps, because if they can see a problem, if they can solve the problem, and they can make a profit, those are the key steps. And then we build them into, increasing an idea or thinking further than that. But we start them off super small, because the smallest idea can actually be right on your doorstep, and it could be the best idea. So, yeah. And then we've had several that, starts from a dog biscuit business to cookies to cakes to lemonades. We have a really, really cool one where, um, she started off sewing a little, like, chair bags. And now she's actually grown into opening a fashion line at 11 years old.
Wow.
So it just shows you, when children are given the right tools and are equipped with everything to set them apart from the rest, they will just soar.
That's brilliant. Brilliant examples, Kayshree. Oh, and it's not only the entrepreneurial spirit, but I also believe children are creative, and uh, giving them the right tools and the environment and the opportunity helps them to play with their creativity. So because the examples that you gave, like I felt that kind of, there's so much creativity and curiosity within children, which can be leveraged and directed in the right way. So I think that's some of the brilliant success stories, Keshri.
Thank you.
So, before we wrap up, if our listeners they would like to connect with you and explore more about the Dreamers and Founders platform, and if they would like to get in touch with you, what would be the best way?
So they can reach us on our Facebook or any of our social media handles. It's just Dreamers and Founders, or they can go on onto our website. It's www.dreamersandfounders.com, and send us a message, DM us, like us, subscribe with us. We've got many videos on YouTube just teaching and just educating kids. We have uploaded some of them. I think the rest will be uploaded. And yeah, and we are having our free masterclass on the 26th of June at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And we just want to educate the kids. So bring them along, bring the parents along. And before they leave, it's a practical masterclass whereby we're going to actually teach them everything that goes into a business, and they will build their business there with us. So that would be fantastic if they could bring their kids along. They need to register. For that, they need to go onto either the website or on the Facebook link, and they would get a free ticket into getting their child into the masterclass.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'll make sure to add all the links and details about the masterclass in the show notes, Keshri. And this is such a powerful conversation because it's definitely I think entrepreneurship for kids isn't about launching the next unicorn or a company. It's about reminding them they are the unicorn. They're unique, creative, curious, capable, and resilient. So thank you so much for what you're doing, Keshri. This is really superb.
Thank you.
So to all the listeners, and especially to all the parents out there, and if you are wondering whether you are doing enough, or if you are watching your child slip into boredom, distraction, or low self worth, I hope that this conversation gave you more than inspiration. I hope it gave you the right tools. And to learn more about dreamers and founders and get hold of their upcoming masterclass, free masterclass on 26th June, just follow the links in our show notes along with this episode on your favorite podcast platform. As always, keep blending your brilliance, in business, at home, and in the way you lead the next generation. See you next time on BizBlend. Thank you.